Halloween is the time of year when we turn our attention to scary things. For many people, it's email. That's what we're talking about today. Hi, this is Frank Buck, and this is the place to be if you want to get organized and make it look easy. Yes, email can be very scary, but it doesn't have to be. The key is to make a decision about each piece of email, decide what it means to you, decide where it needs to go. Every piece of email is going to fall into one of five categories. It's either information about a place you need to be, a thing you have to do, a thing someone else needs to do, information that you want to save for later because it's good reference information, or documentation, messages that you want to save just in case. Everything else is junk. Every piece of email falls into one of those categories. So let's get started on taming that scary inbox. First is information on the places that you need to be. This information really belongs on your calendar. So if you use Gmail and a Google Calendar, then in Gmail, look for the menu that says more, or maybe has three dots. And inside that menu, look for create event. The information is now on your calendar, and you can delete or archive the message. If you use Outlook, drag and drop to turn an email into a calendar event. So in the old version of Outlook, you would drag the email to the calendar button. In the new version of Outlook, click on the icon to display the My Day view. You'll see two tabs from there, one for calendar and one for to do. So click the calendar tab and then drag and drop the event over into that area. And you've just turned that email message into a calendar event. Edit the title, edit the date, edit the time. That's on your calendar. You can delete or archive the email. The entire body of the email message, whether you're in Outlook or whether you're in Gmail, the entire body of that message is now going to be present in the body of that appointment. You can get rid of the email. The second type is the email that's related to something that you need to be doing. You read that email, five paragraphs into it, you realize, oh, I've got to call this person. I've got to write this report. I've got to run this errand. Well, if it's a to do and you can't do it right then it needs to go on your to do list. So if you use a web based task list, you're going to have a special email address. Save that as a contact and then just simply forward the email to that special email address. The subject of the email becomes the subject of the task, but you can edit it. The entire body of the email becomes a note that's attached to that task. Set a date for when you want to see it, set a priority if you want to. Remember the milk, tick tick, Todoist, Asana, all of those are examples of task lists that will give you this special email address. Now, let's suppose that you're using Outlook. Well, remember that little My Day area? Click the To Do tab and then drag and drop that email message over into that area. Edit the subject line so that it reads what you need to actually do. Add yourself a date, and then all of the information about that task, everything that was in the body of the email message now is in that notes section. So you've got all that good information. So when it comes time to do the task, you have the supporting information right then. Third are the tasks that someone else needs to be doing. So easy enough, forward the email to them. But here's my question. How are you going to make sure that the task gets done and the other person doesn't let it fall through the cracks? What's your system for follow up? Here's an easy one. Before you send that email, put in the BCC line your own email address if you're using Outlook, or if you're using one of those web-based programs, remember the milk, Asana, Todoist, TickTick, BCC, that little special email address. So if you're using Outlook, now what happens is a copy of that message comes right back to you. Take it, drag it over to make it a task. Amend the task as needed, amend the subject line for include the person's name, whatever it is that needs to be done. And then I put the letters ETR for expect to receive. Assign a date to the task of when you would want to check status with that person. When would you want to be reminded that this person needed to follow through? If you're using one of the web-based services, that BCC is going to wind up on your task list. Just amend the name of the task, just like you would have on Outlook. Put the name of the person, what needs to be done, put a date, put the letters ETR, or if you use some tags, if you have a tag for ETR that gives you all the things that you're expecting to receive from another person, assign that tag. In any case, it's out of sight, it's out of mind. It's going to come back exactly when you wanted to see it again and check up on that other person. Fourth type of email is good reference information. There's no action needed, but it's information that will be valuable to you in the future. You simply want to file that by subject. So here's my question. Where do you keep that kind of stuff? It's a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. Where would you keep that kind of information? If your answer is Evernote, well, Evernote supplies you an email address. Forward it to that address. That recipe for chocolate chip cookies is now in Evernote, where you can put it in the notebook of your choice. Suppose you use OneNote as the place to keep your notes. You can simply forward that email to me at onenote.com. What about if you use Google Drive to save that kind of information? Well, download the little Save to Google Drive Chrome extension. And if you want to just save the information in the folder system on your computer, maybe you have a folder that's entitled Recipes somewhere in Dropbox, or it's in OneDrive, or it's in your iCloud, and you just want to put that recipe in that folder, use the print command. But instead of printing that recipe to a printer, choose to print to PDF. Now you've got the PDF sitting on your desktop, drag it to the folder of your choice. Finally, we have the email that is something that you want to save just in case. We often need to save information for just documentation purposes. So the thing to do is archive it. You see, now that you have all of the calendar events on your calendar, the tasks on the task list, the reference information, wherever you keep reference information, everything else is this kind of documentation or it's junk. Now, if you want to take the time to sort through it all and delete the junk, that's fine. But if you're like most people, we're now talking about thousands of things where there's no action on it. You want to save it just in case. I would archive that and the junk all together. Later, you can go through it if you want to and get rid of the junk. But it's probably not worth the time. So how do you go about doing that? Well, if you're in Gmail, just put a check at the top so that it checks all of the emails that you see there on the page, but then look for a little message over toward the center of the screen, up toward the top, that asks the question, do you want the action to apply to the 50 or so that are visible, or the thousands upon thousands that are in your inbox? Well, you want that latter. You want to choose them all. And then all we have to do is just click the little archive button up toward the top of the screen. Go get a cup of coffee, because if you got thousands to archive, it's going to take a few minutes. But when you come back to your computer, what you're going to see is an empty inbox for the first time in your life. Where did the messages go? You've still got them. They're over in the all mail folder. All you have to do is click there and search for anything that you need instead of searching in your inbox. If you use Outlook, you have a similar archive system. You can, when you have all the actionable emails handled, just check the top one, scroll down, hold the control key, or rather the shift key, Click on the very last message so that you've highlighted them all and just click archive. You can always go to the archive if you want to search for something there. So, how many emails are in your inbox? Is it scary? It doesn't have to be. You may be one sitting away from empty. So, on this Halloween, we may be dealing with ghoulies and ghosties, long leggedy beasties, and things that go bump in the night. However, your email should never scare you. Thanks for stopping by. This has been Frank Buck helping you get organized and make it look easy.